Okay, so we begin today's June forecast 2024 with the Trump verdict, because I don't think we can even think about the astrology coming up this month without thinking about what we've just been through. And I almost want to go back, just like in every reading, in some way, I have to look at everyone's chart to see what was happening in 2020 for you, where Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter were, and how that was aligning you with this major 35-year period that we're in. That is kind of the ending of the Capricorn structures and the building of Aquarius. We also have to be thinking a lot right now about April's energy for 2024, and the fact that we have we had the eclipse in Aries, and it was around 19 degrees. And then we had the Uranus Jupiter alignment in Taurus, also in that like around 20 degrees. And so we've had these two launching points that were, made April a pretty significant month astrologically. And now, as we move through the year, I would say that all the pieces are coming into place. Pluto retrograde, you can see that down here. Pluto retrograde coming back into Capricorn for one last pass from September to November, kind of picking up the loose ends. And then finally, by the end of the year, Pluto will be fully in Aquarius, and all of the Aquarian themes of technology, innovation, progress, equality, all of these themes will come forward, both in terms of their fundamental problems, their flaws, their corruptions, as well as their potentials, as well as what it is we're building to build a newer world. And you will see as we move through the month that this trine from Pluto to the Gemini planets, which are particularly strong in the first part of the month, that this is a major theme for the month. So this is the verdict for Trump being found guilty of all 34 counts of, fixing the books to affect his election results, by paying off, not just paying off the porn star. I think Republicans in general can get away with some of the things that they do. Whereas we've seen over and over again, the Democrats have like even a whiff of some kind of scandal and out they go, like Gary Hart many years ago, you might remember, on a boat with a woman, not his wife. But it's not just the porn star piece. It was the behind the scenes trying to manipulate things for the election. And so as we're looking at this chart, we see a very interesting yod, which is that we have the ascendant in Scorpio, almost 3 degrees of Scorpio. And I think I'd like to get, come on, there we go. There we go. Okay, so Jupiter, which is the planet of belief, truth, laws, in the 8th house, finances, and then over here, not real tight, but with the moon and the sun, you can do a 10-degree orb. So this counts. This is 9. I got this right. No, I'm missing something up. Sorry, that is the wrong thing. And it is worthwhile to look at that it is a trine from Saturn and the moon. But what I wanted on the yod was to come here to the north node. Okay, so that's where the quincunx is. Let me make sure I've got that right. Yes, that's the quincunx. So 2 quincunxes to a point, and they're joined by sextile energy. They connect with each other. So north node in Aries, moving forward with directness, with a sense of vitality, a certain sense of bravery, something new happening. And then here we have Jupiter, and it's in this yaw that has to do with Venus, so both money and women, not just the woman that he had the affair with, but also his concern was he wouldn't get the female vote if people knew what he had done. And so we've got this yaw, this finger of God that goes to Scorpio. And with Scorpio, we have situations that are deep, intense, powerful, maybe painful. There's transformation, and it's in a square to Pluto. So Pluto at this point in time is a key player. And if I bring in having those interesting problem with my screen today. There we go. Okay, the thing that I noticed most about this as a transit chart to Donald Trump's chart is the fact that at 5:06, when the verdict was announced, and an announcement of a verdict in a way is Mercury, it's a message. Mercury is very tightly conjunct Uranus, and Uranus almost exact on the midheaven. So Uranus on the midheaven will indicate in a person's life a major change in their career or their reputation. And many times when we personally are having this transit, we will find that we're either changing our career, or we want to change our career, how people perceive us is changing. And we can feel a lot of back and forth and uncertainty. And yet here we have the Chiron Mars in the ninth house. Ninth house has to do with laws. 10th house has to do with government and judgments. And we've got Jupiter here. And we also have Pluto, in the area of work and, the way that he runs his work. So we see that, the changes that are happening at this point in time are large, continued, ongoing. There's a release and a letting go of whatever is Libran in his area of money. And in the area of money, we have Neptune, the planet of delusion, illusion, lies, Jupiter, which makes things bigger. So we have here a potential for this person to have a lot of money, but we also have the potential for things not to be honest, not to be clear. And the South Node is always part of the letting go process. If your life is pretty clear, excuse me, when you're living a spiritual life, your own South Node or transiting South Node is not going to be a huge problem for you. It's going to be a time where, yes, maybe you're releasing some worldly things, but you're also deeply involved in your spiritual path. But if you're not, both nodes, North Node and South Node, if you're not in alignment with your soul's path, the penalties and the consequences can be very, very difficult. And we see from Donald Trump's South Node that he has this, big energy. South Node Sagittarius conjunct the moon. Moon represents the public. And so there's this alignment, and he can, promise positive big things, and, he can, have this aura about him. And yet for him personally in this life, he's meant to learn more, to open his mind, to awaken. I mean, if he were to really follow through, and I'm trying really hard not to be judgmental or political in a certain way. I don't want to be super negative, even though, maybe I have my own opinions about harm that this person has done to this country. I believe that in many ways he's the embodiment of a lot of shadow energy. And but if we think of if it was just a client in my office talking to me, I would be looking very much at this North Node Sun Uranus in Gemini, and the fact that this is a life where he needs to understand other people, not think that he's right all the time, and come forward with Mercury in Cancer, more compassion, more love, more care. And yet here in the 12th house is the endless feeling that there's corruption, that there are hidden enemies who are after him everywhere. He was born with this feeling that this is what his experience would be. And and therefore to uh, be less than transparent, less than honest is the coping mechanism. Does anybody have any questions about either the chart? Mariah?
Just that with a birth time that makes it so that, like in seconds, he's going to Virgo rising. I know I've heard a lot of astrologers sort of wondering about that and trying to look at important events in his life. And to me, when I saw this chart, it seemed like because right on that house cusp, you've got Uranus, I was like, yeah, I think that birth time seems pretty accurate. The 29-degree, 58-minute seems pretty accurate and timing out.
And he seems like the ultimate peacock, too. He just seems more Leo than Virgo to me.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
think so. But when someone has their rising sign so close, so much of the first house is that energy. So Leo has prominence, and that makes sense for someone who's been so prominent. And also, I always think of him with the fixed star Regulus, which was at 29 degrees when he was born. And, he totally is embodying the Regulus fixed star storyline, which is that you will achieve great power and wealth, but if you're out of integrity, you'll have a colossal fall. However, he has, apparently like sort of a germophobia and things like that that are a little bit more like the Virgo rising. And I feel also some real, woundedness around his self-esteem, self-worth, perfectionism, which we know was really imprinted heavily by his father. So, there is a lot of Virgo energy that comes forward. And to me, like the only difference when it's that close, the only difference it's going to make is what is the ruling planet? Is it going to be Mercury or the sun? And I would say that it seems like that sun in Gemini is the ruling planet. And it also seems like the Mars, in Leo, likely the same sign as the rising, also is very strong in terms of the aggression that he carries and the sort of the constant fighting against perceived enemies. That also seems very strong to me.